Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition. And today we are diving into the topic of two topics. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to talk about building relationships and the difference between building relationships and interacting with people. Which one are we doing? And the line there, if I want to call it a line. I guess a line is a good way to put it. I was on a call. I'm in a group that Lisa Transcendence Brown does, who is, really a big forerunner in consciousness, what a lot of us are coming through. And a couple of these concepts she threw out, and I thought they were great to expand on in a video. So I didn't come up with these, that's why I want to give credit. I mean, as soon as it was said, I'm like, oh, that would be a good topic, but I did want to give credit for these topics. Building versus interacting. And what's the difference and why do we care? And do we have to know which one we're doing? I think with a lot of ascension, one of the biggest things you're going to find is it's a lot of by yourself. And there's a lot of meeting people. There's a lot of realizing it's not aligned. There's a lot of going on to somebody else. There's a lot of not really seeing I'm going to call it a social circle, just for the amount of people in it. You're not seeing it expand. You're not seeing it grow. You're seeing it shrink, and it continuously shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then there's just like really nobody left. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this. Some of it is that a lot of these people acted as tethers for us when we were kind of really in more of our floaty phases, starting the fifth dimension before we really anchor anything down. A lot of these people, I would think they're kind of tethers to a physical reality, and not a consciousness, but a physical reality. So a lot of these people, so they were aligned at the time because they served a purpose, and a lot of that purpose is what people would call a tether. It would tether us, and we would get really into the higher realms, not to drag us back down to a consciousness. I don't want you guys to get that confused, that, I'm going to come back down to their consciousness. We were never coming back down to their consciousness, but what they did is they kept us sort of tethered to a physical reality. They kept us involved in a physical reality, and that was a lot of people's purposes. I had a lot of people in the beginning of my ascension, back when I was done with my awakening and into my ascension, that's kind of what they were. They were tethers. They kept me tethered into physical realities, but they weren't going on the journey with me at the time. They were not what I would call they were still in a very human consciousness. And eventually we don't need that tether, because we build enough realities where they kind of start to tether us. And we don't need people in them, right? So we get to the point where we needed a tether, because they were kind of tethering us while we were trying to figure out our realities. Which kind of brings me to the next point, which was, we had to be able to handle our old reality before we could get new realities. We can't, there's this myth, I feel like, about ascension, that you can just close the door in your reality and walk right into a new one, an ascended reality. And it doesn't work like that. You can't get a new one if you can't even handle the old one. And I mean, if you're overwhelmed by the old one, you're not getting a new one, okay? You have to deal with the one you got first. You have to shut it down. You have to close off the timelines. You have to understand what's going on, understand how you created it. There has to be a learning in there. You can't just say, hey, I'm just going to close the door. I want to walk over here to this new one. I'm going to exit stage right and enter stage left. I'm in a totally new reality. It's not going to ever work that way, okay? You can't get a new reality if you cannot deal with the one you got. And that means aligning it. And some parts you might say, I don't know what to do with it right now. I'm gonna leave it, but I know I'm gonna have to come back to it at some time. And sometimes your universe might say aligning it is gonna be leaving it alone. It'll align itself. Sometimes we don't have to physically do something, but most of the time we're gonna have to. So you can take that with a grain of salt. A lot of times when I say that, or anyone says that, you get this impression. People get this impression that, okay, it'll align itself. It'll align itself. You might not like the way your universe is gonna align it for you. And it'll be a harsh alignment a lot of times when you let it align itself. If you are very clear that your universe is saying, let it go, it'll align itself. Or let it go for now, give it some breathing room, and we'll come back to it later. Or is your universe saying, you don't have the skill set to align it yet. You don't have the consciousness to align it yet. So just leave it. We'll come back to it. Put a pin and we'll come back to it, because you're going to come back to it. Whether it's with these people or a different group of people, you will come back to it before you can go into the next thing. It's like you can't pass. If you don't pass the grade you're in, you're not going on to another grade. You have to know you can deal with this stuff right here. But 9 times out of 10, once you get to a certain consciousness level, it's going to be, you got to deal with it. You got to have the conversation. You still might close the reality out and leave it behind. Your human realities and your ascended realities are total mirror opposites of each other. So they can't coexist together, and they don't look anything like each other. So you're going to have to, at some point, say, okay, I'm going to leave all this behind. Let me close down what I can close down. But you've really got to be careful thinking you can just not deal with it. Letting something align itself and not dealing with it are two totally different things. If you're afraid to deal with it, then you got to work with that fear of, what is the fear of dealing with it? Is it just you don't have the energy to deal with it? And that could be, it might require money to deal with it. It might require time to deal with it. And right now you're not able to do those things. These are a lot of different iterations of what you're going to do in realities. But the key I want you to take away is, if you can't deal with the one you have, there's no new one coming, okay? We have to deal with it. We have to understand we created it. We made this colossal fucking mess. And we can't just, here you go. Let me just leave it here. Sure, it'll be fine. We can't be like super duper Bond villains and go like, no, I could end it right here with James Bond, but I'm just gonna tell him my whole plan and leave him here in this very dire situation and assume it's gonna all work out, the Austin Powers meme. We're just gonna let it go. It's gonna be fine, it's all gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll work itself out just the way I think it will. It's never gonna be the way you think it will. So we have to kind of put on our big boy pants, big girl pants, and deal with it. Deal with what we created. And understand that if you cannot deal with what you created, you don't have the ability to build anything else, because you don't understand yet why it went wrong. You don't understand yet why it's not aligned. You don't understand. There's so many things we just don't understand yet. And all these realities are in the way of that understanding. They carry a vibration that brings us, that keeps our body in a vibration, that keeps us from understanding. So I don't want someone to think that they can just say, okay, I'm just going to leave it behind. There are a lot of realities that I had no way to deal with them at the time. Doesn't mean I haven't had to come back later and deal with them. Some kind of set for a couple of years. You're going to have those things kind of in your peripheral that are there, and it's not aligned. I got to deal with it. It's just not right now. But until you're really sure that that's the guidance you're getting, and if it's a money thing, you'll know because you don't have the money to do it yet. That is kind of some of the ones that are more clear cut when you're not dealing with people. When it's a situation where, okay, I need money to close that out, and you don't have that yet. You might have to wait for a while before that money comes in. Now, I will say, if you ask for that money to come in to close that out, and you get the money, you need to take that money and close that out, because you've now asked your universe to assist you with that. And remember, your universe is just higher aspects of yourself. It's just you at a different frequency helping you out. And if you say, hey, if you bring me $1,000, I'll be able to fix this. I don't really like the word fix, but close this out and move on to something else. And somehow you get $1,000 that comes in. If you take that $1,000 and spend it on something else, it will be a while before you get it back again, which means you're going to have to go through the hell of whatever that is for a while longer, because you kind of can't be trusted. You said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. You don't have the follow through, and we have to have the follow through with ourselves. And that's a big one with our universe trusting us with more. You have to do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to, I knew a person that would ask for money for something to close the reality out, and every time she'd get it, she'd spend it on something else. Every time. And she did it for like 3 or 4 or 5 different times. And every time she'd get back to the same place in the reality where she's begging, be worse every time though, a little bit worse every time. It's like a sequel that was a little bit worse. And she'd say, oh, please just bring me the money to be able to do it. And in some weird way, the money would come in and she'd spend it on something else. And after like watching this 3 or 4 times, you kind of wash your hands of it. I'm like, sometimes people have to learn the hard way, because a lot of times we had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. Because our human, we don't want to let a lot of this stuff go, even though we say we do. Letting it go means closing it out, going to something different. We might not know what it even looks like yet. We have a fear of that. Our human doesn't like change. And I have a lot of people that say, no, I love change. Change is the best. I love new things. No, changing your entire human identity, in a sense, letting go of all those human identities, that's not change. That you're changing the aspects of which you live from. It's a totally different iteration of change. It's removing yourself from a collective that you have been in since birth, and in a lot of different dimensions of yourself for all of eternity, in a sense. So it's not just, ooh, I think I'll go Mexican today and I always go Chinese, or ooh, I think I'm going to move to Nevada. Whatever the human change would be. You got to double down on that 1,000 times. It could be leaving everything all these people. If I go back to the beginning of how we started, the people that tethered us when we needed that tether, once they are no longer acting as a tether, we don't need it to tether us anymore. We're now building our own aligned realities. Soul aligned realities, higher aligned realities. It doesn't mean this highest line forever, but in this moment, it's highest aligned as we can get to right now. We're going to build this. They don't serve a purpose anymore, and then we have to really look at who's in our world, because they affect our vibration. Am I going to try to build something with this person, or am I just interacting with this person? Am I going to see this person in the grocery store, or I'm going to see this person maybe go to a movie once a month, or see them and just maybe have dinner or have coffee? It doesn't matter. I'm not building anything. I'm just interacting, but it's short interactions. And for a while, that's all you're going to have are really short interactions. You're not going to have these long interactions with people. They're going to be super short, because that's really all you can take for a while. Because you really have to look at, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to build? Who do I want to build with? And building and interactions are different things, and our human would kind of mix all that together, like, oh, I can have an interaction with this person, oh, they can become my roommate, or I'll date this person. Our human consciousness had a weird way of intertwining everything together. Everyone had to have this really integral moment in our life, for whatever reason. It's just it's the whole, soul, it's a whole human template, and our soul is, I'll always say, it's and in those times, it's not even in the body. It hovers around you. You got a little bit of it in there to give your body a little bit of animation, but most of it is not in there. And that's why you'll always, even if you haven't experienced this in your own ascension, to watch more of your soul go into your body and what that does to the body. You see it when people are about to transition through human death, how a lot of them will really perk up, and they look so much younger and brighter and happier, and then they're gone, because so much of their soul gets into their body that their body can't handle it. It's also preparing them, so they're pulling away, and their body can't handle that influx. It's too much at one time. But there's a noticeable difference, when it's gone. And when you look at, I'm gonna get a little morbid for a minute, but when you look at, if you ever look at someone who's passed, and you look at the casket, everyone will say it doesn't really look like them. It just looks like a shell. And if you think that what gave them that soul, that spark, was only such a small percentage of their soul in their body, nowhere near the whole thing, just a teeny tiny percent of it, and that gave them so much vivaciousness in life. That imagine when all of your soul goes into your body, but it can't fit in there because we have so much of our human consciousness, human crap in there. It can't get in there and starts going in, and that's really what ascension is. It's the small, sometimes larger amounts as you keep going, but small amounts of your soul light going in and kind of working as what's that old video game with I can't even think of what it was called. It was that snake that was kind of snaking through everything. You're kind of doing that, and it's cutting through a lot, anything that's not the frequency of what just came into your body, and it's getting it to clear. It's emotional. sets up a lot of realities to clear a lot of stuff. You know, it's working its way through the body to get all that stuff out of there and to clear and clear and clear to get your body vibration up. And when you're in the middle of doing all of this and you're in the middle of trying to build relationships, you really have to kind of see where is everybody falling. And you're probably going to find that for a super long time, everyone's going to be falling into you're not really building with anybody. You're just interacting with them, and very short interactions. And that's it. Even if you decide, okay, maybe I could build with this person, that's not a conversation you make the first time you meet them. You know, you might meet them over 5 or 6 times, because the first time, I mean, we're always going to see the soul first, and you see all the potential and everything, and everyone's on their best behavior in a sense in the beginning, and you just see the soul. You know, you don't see the aspects they live from every day. And that's what you got to see. That's why it can take many interactions for you to think, oh, maybe I could build with this person. But don't be surprised if 9 times out of 10 or 99 out of 100 times, it's more like, no, I'm not going to be able to. It's going to be too much of an interference in my field, and it's not worth it. It's no purpose to it. Now, there will be people that come along and you will know you have a different contract with them to maybe help them with certain parts of their ascension. But even when I would feel I had that, I would still understand that a lot of times when you feel like you have something like that with someone, you're only going to take them to a certain point, and then their universe will take over from there. You can only activate them to a certain point. Then their universe is going to come in and take them to the rest of the way. They'll find someone else, you know, in a sense, because after a while, their ego is going to come in really hard. And when their ego comes in, you're just now, you reach a point with them, but when their life has to really start to shift, they have to leave that partner, leave that space, leave that job, leave all these realities they might have taken decades upon decades to create. You start getting pushback on that, you know, and you understand it, because when it happened to us, we pushed back too. You're like, I don't want to give that stuff up. I don't want to lose all that, because we still see it as a loss. Because we've been programmed to see it as a loss. We're programmed for it to be one way or the other. We're programmed for that to be not how I want it to be. You know, that feels like a loss to me. That feels sad to me. And so you're going to get to a certain point with a lot of people where it's going to kind of be that moment where, and I know some people that have gotten past this point. For me, I really haven't gotten past it yet with anyone. We can get everyone to a point, and then once their ego comes in and kind of doubles down, they're going to have to go through more experiences to break that down. And a lot of times it just feels like it's going nowhere. You know, like all we do now is we're just replaying the same thing out. It's like we're stuck in the same movie over and over and over again. So be aware of that if you hit that. Like, you can have a lot of interactions you might want to build, but you might get to a point where you can see where we're kind of stuck. We're at an impasse, as they would say. You know, we are now at an impasse, and I don't know if anything's gonna be worth it. And what's funny is their human consciousness doesn't, on a soul level, they understand why you can't stay. On a human level, they don't, because, you know, I'll be in a reality for a long time if I knew I had to be there to support different people. And I will be there, I will show up like clockwork. If I'm supposed to be at a place, I'll go there every week, and I will not be there. But once it's done, and once I've taken everyone as far as I know I can take them, and if it was a clearing for me, I've gone as far as I can go with it. It starts to become uncomfortable to be in these places. You know, you're kind of, you're done here. You know, you don't need to be there anymore. You've taken them as far as you can take them. And in a sense, they've taken you as far as they can take you, as far as activating you. And it's time to now leave. And a lot of times they don't come with you. They'll stay there. Human consciousness has a way of keeping people there for a long time. And like I said, I know I did the same thing. So a lot of times when we talk about this stuff, we're not judging anyone in those spaces, because we were all in those spaces at some point or the other. But we just have to leave. And people go, oh, you know, where'd you go? You know, it's like, well, I had to go on. You know, this is not going anywhere. After a while, the purpose is served. So whether you're just looking at people for small interactions, whether people are now acting as tethers for you, it depends on what space you are in ascension. as to what people can represent to you. You know, like I remember not understanding how certain people were still in my life, and then understanding that they were tethers. They were just tethering me to something, because there are parts of this and we're so detached from the human experience, and we haven't attached really or built anything else. So we're kind of detached from our human experience because we know we have to align a lot of stuff there. We gotta untangle it in a sense. We're not ready to do that yet. So we can kind of saying, I can see a lot of these things don't work. And then we will have these people that kind of act to just kind of keep us tethered somewhere in a physical reality, usually in the lighter stuff, you know, like someone to go to the movies with, or someone to just have dinner with, and the more fun interactions where you're not really having to deal with any of your stuff, but it keeps you tethered in the physical in some way. But in a joyful way, you know, because you're not really ready to deal with the unjoyfulness yet. You're not really willing to really pull it all apart. And that takes more of your consciousness to expand. It takes more moments in your ascended body. It takes more moments in your ascended realities, and to see what you need to do. And maybe it's better to even say that as ascended consciousness, because your body's not going to be there yet. You have to be able to see what you need to do. And like I said, it's not always going to be the same answer. It might be the same answer, but you might know, okay, I can't do this right now. I'm supposed to confront this because I have a fear of confronting it. So the answer here is I have to confront it. Whereas next time, you don't really have a fear around confronting, and there's no point to confront it. It doesn't matter. It has no impact on your life. You can give a shit. And you know, you don't say that knowing, oh, you really do give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we'll say that, oh, I don't care, but we really care. You got to really not care. And you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's not even worth my energy to even try to align that. It just does not matter. But because the energy you're coming from is so different, you can make that choice to not do something. But if you have a fear of doing it, now we got to do it, because now the energy we're coming from is different. And that's the most important thing to look at. What are the emotions behind it? What's the story behind it? Why do I not want to do it? Why do I not want to engage in trying to untangle this mess? What's really going on? That's what you got to get to. Because the answer is going to be, doesn't matter. It can be the exact same. It can be totally opposite answers depending on the emotion you have toward it, you know, and that's what's important. We have to really be able to, and that's in the crux of what consciousness is. We have to be able to look at, be conscious and aware enough to go, what's going on with me? I don't give a shit about anybody else. I don't give a shit about anything else right now, but how do I feel about it? Well, what's my story I have around it? Well, these people don't want to ever talk to me again? Okay, if that happens, is that the end of the world? Does it matter that much? Does it mean that much? These are the questions we have to ask. And these are the things we have to, once we understand what we have to do, we have to then do it. There's a lot of doing in ascended realities. It's not just waiting and hoping and visualizing and vision boarding. We have to do it. We have to show, I can deal with this reality. I can do it. I can deal with this. I can straighten this shit out. I can do it. I know I can. So, okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I know we can do it. Keep practicing the art of intuition.